Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston are springing up cash. Just sell us your gently used warm weather styles like tees, shorts, sandals, and more. We're paying cash on the spot for gently used spring styles for guys and girls. Support sustainable fashion. This spring, do your thing and recycle the spring-inspired clothes, shoes, and accessories that are just hanging in your closet for cash on the spot. Let your spring clothes bloom into cash at Plato's Closet. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
Life. Talk of the town.
Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston are springing up cash. Just sell us your gently used warm weather styles like tees, shorts, sandals, and more. We're paying cash on the spot for gently used spring styles for guys and girls. Support sustainable fashion. This spring, do your thing and recycle the spring-inspired clothes, shoes, and accessories that are just hanging in your closet for cash on the spot. Let your spring clothes bloom into cash at Plato's Closet. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
Talkin', weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
Talk of the town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken, along with Kevin Oberlander, Dakota Pharmacy, Dakota Natural Health Center, downtown Bismarck's Corner Drugstore. And guest in the studio with us today, Jeff Gorder, Doctor of Pharmacy, focusing on some nutrition, aging, longevity, a lot of things now that we're into New Year's resolution time, Kevin.
Well, good morning, Steve. I've said for years, resolutions don't work. So I think what we'll focus on this morning, the first show of the new year, is don't make resolutions, make changes. Jeff's new to the pharmacy. He's been with us since August. He has some very unique skills, and I think he brings a lot to the table to help people make those changes.
Jeff, give us a little background. So you're Bismarck born and raised. Where's your background when you start talking about what the new year looks like?
So I started working for Kevin back in August. I was born and raised here in Bismarck. I went to NDSU, and after I left NDSU, I moved to Alaska for about 9 years. Worked with the Indian Health Service up there in a diabetes program. During that time, I was a certified diabetic educator. And since I left Alaska, I got back here. I've gotten really into the nutrition side of things, also really focusing in on some supplementation. And that's kind of what brought me to Dakota Pharmacy. It's just been a really good fit for me. So, and Kevin and I have talked a lot about how, all the rage nowadays is weight loss drugs. I mean, it's
yeah, there's a pill for that or a shot for that.
Yeah, it's a lot easier for people. And
Kevin and I were talking about this too. Once Oprah came out and said, because she'd always been the willpower, and once she came out and said, yeah, I've been taking the shot, and it's like, okay, I know where that's going to go.
Yeah, and I think there's a time and place for those types of medications. I think there's a need for them, but I think what happens is a lot of people have looked at it as like, this is just easy. I don't have to.
You don't have to put in the other work, but there's other work that needs to be put in.
Absolutely, because with these drugs, there are kind of unintended consequences. One of the biggest things I think we've noticed when we look at the data and stuff. So when people are taking these weight loss drugs and they look at your body composition that you lose in that weight loss. So normally when you do diet and exercise to lose large amounts of weight, you lose about 25% of your lean body mass. And when I say lean body mass, I mean bone density and I mean muscle mass. When we're using weight loss drugs like the big ones currently on the market now, we can see that lean body mass be 40 to 50% if they're not also supplementing that with diet and exercise.
Well, the old adage, of course, muscle weighs more than fat. And when I've always looked at, but people forget about the bone side of things too. So, getting a bone density scan so you know what that baseline looks like, that's important.
Yeah, very much so.
And I've always fought my way to kind of the yo-yo guy, and because I know me, but I've never looked at it as what's the pounds on the scale. What's my percent body fat? For me, that's my meter of health, because I know that I can go 5-6 pounds in a day, really easy. So I'm looking at that percent body fat. Is that the right way to do it?
Yeah, I think so. I think looking at your body composition is huge. In fact, I recently, for myself personally, took a DEXA scan. And a DEXA scan breaks down all your composition, your bone mass density, your muscle mass, and your body fat percentage, along with your visceral fat.
No.
Okay, so that's the baseline. That's really the part that people, whether you're going to make a New Year's resolution, or if you're going to go on a diet, if you're going to, like me, I know I yo-yo. I got to be very diligent about what I do. But you should have that baseline then.
I think you should. And then the other reason, when we look at the other kind of real important thing when we look at these weight loss drugs, and because a lot of these people that are using these types of medications are middle-aged, men and women that are in their 30s to 40s that have kind of put on the pounds, through having kids and just life, and then want to kind of lose that weight. The big concern I have with when you look at how the body composition changes versus diet and exercise versus weight loss drugs is the later long-term health benefits, such as sarcopenia, which is muscle wasting in elderly, and osteoporosis, which is bone mass density, a disease of bone mass density where you have brittle bones. So if you're losing that muscle mass and that bone density early on in age, it's going to be much harder for you to build that back up as you age. It's much harder to put on muscle mass and bone density, in your 40s and 50s as it is in your 20s and 30s.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because you think about, okay, you lose weight, or is it a question of just remaining active? So the muscle side of that I get, but what do you do for the bone density? Because you start losing bone density over time.
Sure.
Are there ways to curtail that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. One, making sure you want to make sure you have an adequate intake of calcium. Vitamin D kind of tags along with that. And then it's weight-bearing exercise. It's putting stress on that bone, with those muscles, so the bone will build up. And
you think about flexing your muscles, but you don't necessarily think about flexing the bone that the muscles are attached to.
It's not necessarily flexing the bone, but the more weight you can lift, the body has to build that bone to support that strength in those muscles. And that's why I think weight-bearing exercise, when I talk about exercise, weight bearing is huge, walking, stuff like that. And especially, as people age, they're like, oh, I don't want to lift weights, I don't want to hurt myself. But it's not even that. You have to, I think it's really vitally important to put some type of weight bearing exercise as you age, because
something as simple, though, and it can be very simple. Just throw a backpack with some weight on when you're out for your walk. Something that simple can fix that.
Yeah, it's rucking is what we commonly hear that referred to nowadays. It sounds like you've heard about that. But rucking is huge. It's good for your lung capacity, which is another real important thing as you age. Plus, it also helps you with what they call eccentric muscle movement, where like stepping down off a curb. Because as you age, then if you step down off a curb and you fall, you're at increased risk of hip fractures, bone fractures, and stuff, which can really inhibit your ability to live on your own as you age. So, walking with weight on your back, such as a term called rucking, is what you hear a lot now, is very good. Plus, it's a good, what we call zone 2 exercise, where your heart rate's not real high, but it's high enough that you feel like you're working and stuff like that. Because that's another thing. It's not just bone mass density, muscle mass, but we also look at a metric called VO2 max, which is your body's way to efficiently use oxygen. And as you age, that naturally decreases about 10% per decade of life as you age. You're probably hitting your max VO2 in your 20s, and then it slowly declines. But the way to look at that is the higher your VO2 max, the easier it is going to be for you to walk up a flight of stairs. It's going to be easier for you to do the things you want to do as a retiree. Like me at 46, I'm starting to kind of look down the road, and I'm like, these are all the things I want to do. So what do I need to do now to make sure I can do those things later in life?
Well, so that brings up the question, is it too late if you didn't plan if you didn't? Is there a cutoff? I'm 75, for example. Well, I didn't do all this preventative stuff, so is it too late? No. It's never too late, right?
No, absolutely not. I look at a real kind of a good example I always look to is my mom. So my mom...
Tell you what, hold that thought. We're going to come back from the break because I want to talk about the longevity side of stuff. And again, it's like quitting smoking. It's like changing your eating habits. People that are pre-diabetic, it's not too late. You can make changes at any time. And if you want to talk about New Year's resolutions, that's a good one to start with. Talk about making the small incremental changes, the ones that make a difference, and it's never too late to start those, whether it's the first of the year or the middle of July. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. We're talking with Kevin Oberlander and Jeff Gorder, Dakota Pharmacy, Dakota Natural Health Center, downtown Bismarck's Corner Drugstore, with all kinds of cool stuff nestled in there as well. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk.
Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston are springing up cash. Just sell us your gently used warm weather styles like tees, shorts, sandals, and more. We're paying cash on the spot for gently used spring styles for guys and girls. Support sustainable fashion. This spring, do your thing and recycle the spring-inspired clothes, shoes, and accessories that are just hanging in your closet for cash on the spot. Let your spring clothes bloom into cash at Plato's Closet. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken, along with Kevin Oberlander, Dakota Pharmacy, Dakota Natural Health Center, downtown Bismarck's Corner Drugstore. Jeff Gorder, Doctor of Pharmacy, joining us in the studio as well from Dakota Pharmacy. And Jeff, your specialty is nutrition and how that plays into aging, weight loss, longevity, kind of a place that you little focus in. And you're going to tell us a little bit about the longevity side personally, because your parents are pretty active.
Yeah. So before the break here, you just mentioned, like, is it ever too late to start? And kind of a prime example is my mom. She was, I want to say she was late 50s, maybe. And my mom, they're in their mid 70s now, late 70s. And my mom didn't really learn to start to ride a bike until she was in her mid to late 50s. I mean, she always knew how to ride a bike, but after retirement is when she really started riding bike. And so they have a group of friends that go out and they do these huge bike rides. They rode the Erie Bike Canal Trail from somewhere in, up around upstate New York, which is, they're riding 30.
Okay, 40. That's legit. I used to ride a lot, and some of those trails in some of those other states, those are legit.
And then they rode from Pennsylvania to Washington, D.C. It was like a week-long bike tour that they did where it's like 30, 40 miles a day, and now as they've gotten older, they've gotten into the ride e-bikes. But, my mom didn't start doing that until she was older. My mom never truly did a lot of working out. Now she does like spin class at the Y. She does weightlifting and stuff like that. And she's, it's just a prime example of why it's never too late. If you've never worked out, you got to start somewhere. Don't be ashamed of where you're starting, and don't let other people don't compare yourself to other people, I guess is an easy way to say that. You got to start somewhere, and doing something is better than doing nothing. Yeah,
just don't sit on the couch playing video games or eating bonbons or Cheetos or whatever the case may be. But so that brings us to another part of this. So there's the activity side of stuff. Just, country music world. A lot of people know Tim McGraw, and Tim was getting a little heavy. He just started going out for a walk.
Yep.
And he's probably one of the most fit people I know in the country music the guy's fit. Just started out walking, not overly exercising, just started out walking. But there's the nutrition side of that as well.
Sure.
So you have to balance the two.
Yeah, I think nutrition needs to be the cornerstone of it all. I think you can't outwork a bad diet is what I like to. It's like you can out-eat any insulin that we give diabetics or any insulin or diabetic medication. You can out-eat all that. So I really think nutrition is a cornerstone. And there's
because as I've aged, because I used to be an athlete back in high school and college, and I know my metabolism and I know how I've changed. And yeah, it just comes down to I got to eat right, or it doesn't matter what my workout regimen is, it comes back to the nutrition side. It comes back to what my calorie intake is, what the fuel, because that's the other thing. I get a friend of mine that she refers to food as fuel. And I'm like, that's a good way to look at it, because it's not about what you're taking in. It's, are you taking in the right things to fuel your body?
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's not as simple as calories in, calories out. I don't think so. I mean, because I think it's the way your body metabolizes the food that you're eating. I think finding somebody, whether it's a nutrition coach, whether it's a dietitian, or somebody to help you kind of look at your food and look at what you're eating. But the real key is eating whole foods. And what I mean by whole foods is, it's an easy way to think of it as shopping the outside aisles of the grocery store. You know, the ultra high processed added sugar food is more in the central part of the grocery store. You know, when I say whole foods, I mean fruits and vegetables. I mean, you know, eggs. I mean, lean cuts of meat, stuff like that. Stuff, you know, growing up in North Dakota, we had that, you know, with the farms and everything. You know, we had vet gardens. We had
everybody's mom or grandparents canned. You know, you put up meat, all kinds of stuff.
So, you know, whole foods is really important. And like, always watch the added sugar in your food. It's incredible how much added sugar.
Well, it's gotten worse as I've aged, because I've noticed that. So if I need to take off 5-10 pounds, it's okay. No processed sugar. I can't have any processed sugar, or it's not going to happen. Preservatives, though, too, because I look back and I look at the cancer rates, and I look at some of the other dietary things and the incidences of diabetes and the other maladies that come out of nutrition. I look at the processing. And you take a look back, World War II is about when processed foods really kind of kicked in. And then, oh, hey, wait a minute. After World War II, it was like, well, we can make this easy. TV dinners and all that processed food, the preservatives that go into that. Is there something there, or is that just me going, no, you know, there's some correlation here?
You're absolutely correct. I think because I heard a staggering number the other day. I was listening to a podcast, and I heard a staggering number that was said that there was 70% of our food that you buy in the grocery store has added sugar to it.
Yeah. And sugar, salt.
And you flip over a label and start looking. It's shocking.
Well, and then the preservatives on top of that, which a lot of them are salt or nitrate based as well. Not healthy things.
No, I don't think so. So if you can get as close to Whole Foods, or, you know, if you're like, I've heard a statement where if your grandma doesn't know what the ingredients are, you shouldn't be eating it.
Grandma knows best. Well, and you're Norwegian like I am. And
if you can't pronounce them.
Yeah, you and I are both Norwegian, so with our grandparents, you probably grew up eating whole milk and butter and all the good Norwegian foods that Grandma made.
Yep. Milk straight from the cow. Yep. I remember that. And
skim the cream off. Yep.
Yeah, and, you know, vegetables from the garden. We had a huge garden growing up, and I'm not one to sit here and tell you I have a great diet or a very well-balanced diet. I mean, we just went through the holidays. I feel like I've been eating junk for the last 3 weeks. But
it was fresh junk.
Yeah. You know, but I think when we look at moving forward in the new year, because everybody's going to be making resolutions, everybody's going to be looking to make changes, and it doesn't always have to be on the new year. It's whatever day you decide to do that. I think you need to take a real hard look at your nutrition and what you're putting in your mouth. And when you eat more whole foods and more natural foods, you're going to find yourself being able to fuel your body a lot better. You're going to be able to have more, you're going to feel more full. You're not going to be craving food because you have the composition in that whole food is going to make you feel fuller, such as the fiber and the protein and stuff like that, and the fats. You know, fat got a bad rap in the 80s.
No, fat is good.
But then what happens, so we make all this low-fat food in the 80s and say, oh, now it's low-fat. Well, what would they replace that fat with to make it taste good? Sugar. So now here we have huge incidence of metabolic disease.
Well, and I used to be, okay, carbs kill me. Well, it took me a long time to realize, no, carbs are good. You need carbs, but I need to consume carbs with protein. You need to have that balance.
You need to like fruits and vegetables kind of it's not vegetables, but fruits kind of get a bad rap. Say, oh, that's sugar, but it's
natural sugar.
Yeah, it's the complexity of it. It's the fiber that's in with it.
Yeah, I don't eat processed sugar. I eat honey.
Yeah.
I get honey.
Raw organic honey.
Raw organic honey.
Yeah, we do need carbs, but they need to be complex.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, complex carbs, and I need to consume them with proteins. There needs to be balance. It's like I need to have that little color palette on my plate when I'm eating them. Otherwise, I know right where they go.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting that you bring up protein too, because earlier in the discussion we were talking about muscle wasting, or losing muscle mass as we age, which is commonly referred to as sarcopenia. And what happens as we age, we really need to be consuming about 1.2 to 1.7 grams of protein per kilogram, which equates, that's just to maintain muscle mass that you currently have, not to build muscle mass. But as we age, so that works out to be about a half a gram to about 3/4 of a gram of protein per pound. So if you look at somebody that weighs 200 pounds, they should be consuming at least a half a gram of protein a day to maintain muscle volume. Now, as we age in their 30s, 40s, 50s, it's harder to put on muscle. And I'm not talking the bro science that you're eating 2 grams of protein a day trying to get big. I'm talking just
bulking up,
just maintaining the muscle mass you currently have into aging. And that sometimes can be tough. If you're a 200-pound individual and you're trying to consume 100 grams of protein, that's tough. And so a lot of people turn to protein supplementation, such as protein shakes, right? Which I think is a totally acceptable form of.
But you got to be careful because, again, the preservatives, some of them are processed, added sugars.
Tons of added sugar in some of them. The higher quality, and there's some very good ones. I've used a couple of different ones. I use one that we currently sell now and what I do, when I look at a protein, I flip it over, I look at the label, and I say, okay, how many grams are in the scoop? Most scoops are 30 to 31 grams per scoop. And then I look, okay, how much of that is the protein I'm getting? And now I'm comparing a whey-based protein, so a milk-based protein. There is also plant-based proteins, but when I do it, it's a whey-based protein. And I flip it over, it's a 30-gram scoop. Okay, I'm getting 25 grams of protein in this scoop. So that means there's only about 5 to 6 grams of filler. In fact, I just looked at my protein this morning before I came in, and it's 5 grams of filler, which is very, very good. And there's a couple other companies I've noticed that do that, but some of them, you flip them over and you're getting a 50-gram scoop for 25 grams of protein. So you're talking 25 grams of filler. That's sugar.
Kevin and I talk about this all the time. It's like you got to put the right stuff in the right combinations that help the other interconnected systems all work together. And when you're adding fillers like that you're not really getting a lot.
So a big push in the pharmacy for several years this time of year is that making a change. So we like to talk about the Shake a Day program because so many people that come in have really not made any kind of commitment. They're really struggling and they want to make that change.
Great place to hit the break. When we come back, we're going to talk about that Shake a Day program, and we're going to talk with Jeff about, okay, you've not been a workout person, but you're getting a little bit older. Where do you start? And we're going to walk through that coming up next. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bach along with Kevin Oberlander, Dakota Pharmacy, Dakota Natural Health Center. Also Jeff Gorder, Doctor of Pharmacy, in with us as well this morning. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Follow us on Twitter.
Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston are springing up cash. Just sell us your gently used warm weather styles like tees, shorts, sandals, and more. We're paying cash on the spot for gently used spring styles for guys and girls. Support sustainable fashion. This spring, do your thing and recycle the spring-inspired clothes, shoes, and accessories that are just hanging in your closet for cash on the spot. Let your spring clothes bloom into cash at Plato's Closet. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
Us on Facebook, Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bach along with Kevin Oberlander and Jeff Gorder from Dakota Pharmacy, Dakota Natural Health Center joining us. We're talking about aging, resolutions. Kevin, we're going to talk about where you start. So You've never been that person. Where do you start? You were talking about the Shake a Day plan, which legit. I mean, as far as getting those supplements, getting that foundation, that baseline to get going in a program.
One of the first things I ask patients when they are seeking out help is, what do you eat for breakfast? and you can just kind of
breakfast?
You can just kind of see the blood drain from their face because they don't eat breakfast, and I think it's still probably the most important thing that we can do is to eat a really well balanced breakfast, or to supplement that with, and I'm not going to say that
because you got to kick the metabolism in.
I'm not going to say, well, you're getting up in the morning, your adrenals are surging, giving you vitality, but if you don't have fuel, then your whole day is going to be a yo-yo. And then, we've talked about this before when we've talked about sleep. Sleep starts in the morning. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't have the vitality in the morning and the fuel that you need, you're really probably not going to sleep well. So when I ask that question about breakfast, and it's obvious that's not their game, I try to steer them to get started. And that's where we started talking about, and it's been probably close to 7 or 8 years now we've talked about a shake a day.
Back in the day, I got in the habit of not eating breakfast because if I ate breakfast, then I was hungry all day.
Right.
If I didn't eat breakfast, then I was fine. But then you look at the people that don't eat breakfast and look at their cycle where they crash.
Right.
And most people try to overcome that with caffeinated beverages.
Right.
That extra cup of coffee.
Red Bull.
Yeah. I mean, it's not what your body needs.
No. So if you don't start your day out right, it just doesn't work. So I'm a huge proponent of a shake a day. I try to do a smoothie most every day personally. I use one called Healthy Drink because I was doing a good protein powder, looking at the labels like Jeff talked about, adding some fiber because fiber is important. And then I would put some fruits and greens in mine. We have a product called Healthy Drink, which is really a combination of all of those. You've got your protein, you've got some nutrients, you've got your fruits and greens, and you've got some fiber in there. So it's pretty nutritious. Now, mine's a shaker cup in the morning. On the weekends, might do some blending and make it a little bit more robust because I
get one of those stick blenders, and I'm a big blender guy because I'm throwing in my fresh frozen vegetables and some fruits, and because I want that fiber, that better fiber, a little bee pollen,
so
honey.
What we're really trying to do is set up people for success. To make that, and again, resolutions don't work. Make that change and commit to it. And if you do that on a daily basis, if you've not been doing it before, you will see some results.
Well, and to set it up, I mean, you need to change your routine because it needs to become habit.
Right.
Otherwise, like you said, resolutions don't work unless this is a life change. This is a habit. So, Jeff, somebody who's not worked out yet, like your mom, great example. Somebody who hasn't worked out, they want to get started. Does it start with the exercise? Does it start with the nutrition? Does it start with the combination? What's the first steps that somebody needs to take? And is it as simple as just, okay, I need to take a first step?
Yeah, I think you just need to make that determination that you need to do something. And I think it starts with both, actually. I know it makes it a little bit more complicated, but you're not going to fix it overnight. When I used to do diabetes, we'd have patients come in and they were in their 40s and they're just diagnosed with diabetes. Their blood sugars were through the roof, and I'm like, look, you've had 40 or 50 years of life to create all these bad habits. We're not going to fix it overnight.
And they're bad habits.
Yeah, and you're not going to fix it overnight. And I don't expect you to fix it overnight. I don't expect you to be perfect. My diabetics would come in and see me. They'd be like, oh, I screwed up on this, I screwed up on that. I'm like, I don't expect you to be an A+ student. I'd like to see you be a B+ student, but I don't expect you to be perfect. Nobody is. You're going to have good days and bad days. But I think it starts with both. I'm not saying you need to eat perfect every day, and I don't say you need to work out every day initially. But you need to start somewhere. 1-2 days a week. A bad workout is better than no workout is a common phrase you see all the time. But start with 1 day a week and start with what, and easy way to look at it is everybody's got a heart rate monitor on their wrist now with smartwatches, right? Just get out there and get your heart rate up. Whether it's just walking, whether it's doing, going to the Y, playing with your kids. I mean, it doesn't have to be like this set workout. I mean,
how much of it's a mental side of stuff? Because where a lot of people fail with their New Year's resolutions or any resolution is and I don't want to call people lazy, but I'm tired this morning. I'm just going to skip today. But skipping one day leads to skipping 2 days, leads to skipping 3 days, and now you're off track. So how much of it is that mental, that willpower, that, sometimes you need a little mental break, but there's a difference between that mental reset and you're tired mentally of the routine. How does the mental side of that play in?
I think it's huge. I think a lot of people beat themselves up if they miss a workout.
I missed a workout. I'm done.
Yeah.
No,
what's
don't
the
do
point
that
anymore? Like, I ate bad today. What's the point anymore? And I think you need to take that as...
cheat days are important.
It happens. I mean, but you can't beat yourself. This is not something that's going to change overnight. This is going to take time. And I think that's... unfortunately, in our society, we have an instant gratification type of society,
Oh, yeah.
And so I think people, and that's why these weight loss drugs
like that smart device you said everybody's got on their wrist.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons with that.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, I got my 2,000 steps, so I'm done for the day.
Yeah.
Well, no, you could keep going.
Yeah. So I think it's that instant gratification that people are looking for, and that's why weight loss drugs have really blown up. And weight loss drugs, so I've been a pharmacist for going on 19 years here this spring, and weight loss drugs have always been a thing. And they're more in the news now because we're seeing much more success with them.
Well, they've changed, too. There's a little difference because also, where a lot of the weight loss drugs now has started is like through the diabetic side of things. But if you take a look at the rates of diabetes, and this firsthand, you used to think of somebody with diabetes as being morbidly obese or extremely heavy, and that's not the case anymore because we talked about the metabolic side of things. We're seeing people that I would look at somebody and go, wow, you're in great shape. You're fit. You work out. Oh, wait a minute. You're diabetic.
Yeah.
That's changed. The definition or the symptomatic side of diabetes, it's not what you think it used to be compared to what it is today. There's been a big paradigm shift there.
And I think a lot of that has to do with, like we talked about earlier, is processed food. But yeah, so back to the instant gratification, where people want this fixed overnight, it's just not going to happen. Just like my diabetic patients, you're not going to get fixed overnight. This is going to be work. This is going to be hard. And everybody's looking for that quick fix, looking for that quick supplement. And I tell them all the time, supplements aren't going to do you any good if you're not willing to do the work.
Got to do the work. You got to put in the effort, and you got to have the right mindset. That's a big part of that as well. We're talking with Jeff Gorder, also Kevin Oberlander, Dakota Pharmacy, Dakota Natural Health Center. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of those weight loss solutions, but are they really? We'll talk about that next. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk.
Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston are springing up cash. Just sell us your gently used warm weather styles like tees, shorts, sandals, and more. We're paying cash on the spot for gently used spring styles for guys and girls. Support sustainable fashion. This spring, do your thing and recycle the spring-inspired clothes, shoes, and accessories that are just hanging in your closet for cash on the spot. Let your spring clothes bloom into cash at Plato's Closet. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bachel, along with Kevin Oberlander, Dakota Pharmacy, Dakota Natural Health Center, also Jeff Gorder, Doctor of Pharmacy over at Dakota Pharmacy. We're talking about New Year's resolutions. I'm a little remiss to call it a New Year's resolution. Just make a resolution. There's no bad time to start with the rest of your life and getting in the proper shape, proper mental side of things, the proper nutrition. All that plays into longevity and where you're at in your life and where you want to be. So coming back to some of these weight loss shortcuts now, and I'll call them shortcuts, because that's where that instant gratification, it's like, oh, I can take a pill for that, or I can take a shot, and I'm going to lose that 20 pounds that's hard to lose and I haven't had a whole lot of luck with. But
we need to say the word.
Yeah.
It's semaglutide is what's being used. It's the drug that's in Ozempic has kind of gotten to be the hot button. And
the other one I hate the commercial of,
yeah. It works. But I think Jeff talked earlier about I think there's a dark side to this, and it really needs to be done properly, and I'm not sure that that's actually being done because,
Well, great example.
Periodic injection, and you lose weight, and
I'm in my
lose it
50s,
fast.
and I've always had 10, 15 pounds I need to lose. Okay, I'm going to take this shortcut, but what are the long-term ramifications of that? Okay, I'm losing muscle mass and I'm losing bone density in the process. Well, that's not setting me up for when I'm in my 60s and 70s and 80s very well.
Right. And so I think our major concern is the rapidity of the weight loss. People are losing that muscle mass rapidly. And what happens when it gets to the point where they can't use these quick fix drugs for some onset of some health reasons? We're hearing of things like peristalsis because it kind of kills your appetite and the GI tract slows down, and some people get their GI tract literally gets paralyzed, and so they take them off the drug. They've lost all this muscle mass. The weight's going to come back. It's going to come back rapidly. It's going to be fat cells, and they're probably worse off than they were than when they started. So our focus, and we're hoping there's some revolutionary things that we can do as a compounder to deliver semaglutide in a non-injection form at a more controlled, lower dose. And Jeff and I have had the discussion of making sure that people commit to a lifestyle change maybe up to 30 days before they're even given the medication.
Well, that's the other side of it, too, is that you're losing muscle mass. Well, muscle burns fat.
Yeah, exactly.
Those systems,
yeah.
It's how that works.
People just lose
so you're losing the ability to lose your natural weight anyway.
They lose their balance is really, I think, is what's
and we
happening.
talk about that all the time. Things work best in equilibrium. I'm a big equilibrium guy.
Yeah.
If you don't have balance, then you're going to get in trouble somewhere.
Yeah, and I really think there's a time and place for this type of medication.
Yeah.
But I think people are looking at to replace everything else to be the. And I've talked to many patients that are like, "Yeah," I said, "Well, what's your plan? After this?" Their plan
I'm just going to stay on it.
Their
We're
plan
good.
is this, and but like we don't know in non-diabetic patients that are just using it for weight loss, we don't know the long-term ramifications of this stuff. The drugs aren't just out there long enough. So I think it's really important for people to understand that you got to make the nutrition changes. You got to make the activity level changes. Otherwise, I truly think you'll just be back to where you were at square one. I mean, the drug has done wonderful things for people, and I think there's a time and place for it. But I think you need to look at the long term
and the bigger picture.
Yep.
How. If you take a look at that treatment, it's a snapshot. How does that snapshot fit into the bigger picture of your personal health?
How does that transfer 30, 40 years down the road?
Right.
Because there's a lot of young people that are doing
a lot of people in their 30s, a lot of people in their 40s. And I get the allure to it. I really, truly do. And I understand the need for some people, because if you're staring down the barrel wanting to lose some of these people 100, 150 pounds.
Right.
And you got somebody like me saying nutrition and exercise. Okay, what do we talk about healthy weight loss?
But again, now you have to balance out, okay, but what are the benefits from reducing your risk at heart disease or some of these other...
diabetes.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, equilibrium. There's balance. There's a place for everything. And that, again, comes back like we always talk, your triad of care. You have to have that conversation with your healthcare providers, and you have to know yourself, and you have to bring something to the table also.
Yeah. I think it just needs to be looked at differently.
Of course, if somebody has any questions, how do they get a hold of you, Jeff?
You can get a hold of me 5 days a week at Dakota Pharmacy. They can just give me a call down there. If you want to come in, we can talk. I'm more than happy to discuss any of this with anybody.
Jeff Gorder, nutrition is his specialty, doctor of pharmacy at Dakota Pharmacy. You actually give him 2 days off, huh, Kevin?
Well, he does work a Saturday, but he gets a day off. So he's got to get to the gym.
Dakota Pharmacy, Dakota Natural Health Center, downtown Bismarck's Corner Drugstore. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Sunday.
Let's finish it off.
Broncos, Raiders, the season finale.
That is little Jordan Humphrey spins away, breaks a tackle, breaks another tackle. Here we go, 20, 15, 10, 5, to the goal line. Touchdown, Denver. 54 yards.
On the KOA Broncos Radio Network.
Super Talk 1270 is your ticket for the action this season. The Denver Broncos play here. Super Talk 1270.
This is the Pet Minute. I'm Steve Dale. A dramatic reading. Next, Beringer Ingelheim Animal Health wants you to know that your dog can be at risk of heart disease. By screening for a heart murmur, abnormal heart rhythm, or heart enlargement, your veterinarian will be able to diagnose and possibly treat these signs earlier. There are medications that can help delay the onset of congestive heart failure or manage the symptoms of heart failure once diagnosed. Talk with your veterinarian to see if your dog is at risk and schedule that ever-important annual exam. Early detection is best. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, especially the mouse, 'cause the mouse knows who's in the house. Oh, there's Fido, there's Fluffy, there's Duchess and King, on Rover, on Scruffy with that squeaky thing. Oh, his eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. When Rover licked his nose, it tasted like sherry. Merry Christmas to all, and to all, a good night. For the Pet Minute, I'm Steve Dale.
KLXX AM, Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union studio.
Recorded.
Talk of the Town with Steve Bakken. Weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app. It's time for Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Good morning, Happy New Year. Joe Sheehan here. No Steve Bakken today. Just me recovering from the holidays. But welcome to Talk of the Town. Joe Sheehan here, your mortgage planner, and we are going to enter the new year with all kinds of new news out there. And so, Randy holding down the board for me today. How are you, Randy?
I'm here.
And maybe, I don't know, my daughter's riding shotgun with me. Maybe she'll have something smart to say. We'll let her brew on here for a little while.
Your mic's on over there. You can feel free to speak.
Oh, boy.
Boy.
She's no stranger. She's no stranger to the radio. Back in the old days, I used to proselytize my children, put them out on the radio and radio ads back when it was Heartland Mortgage. And so she's been on the air before, so what is the news? Well, the good news is that we're entering into 2024, and depending on which side of the market you're on, optimism abounds or pessimism abounds.
Hope springs eternal.
Either way, there's those, and that's well said too, because it could be also hoping for a bad market, as some people might. But the key right now is mortgage rates trending lower and stabilizing in the sixes, which is good news for home buyers. And of course, what we are getting, economists like Yoon from the National Association of Realtors are talking about how regardless of what people want, or because people are the locked in homeowner, the people who are locked into low rates, they are just getting tired of their homes, period. And that we may see some movement from people like that just are tired of their homes and want to move anyway, regardless of the fact that rates are higher. So hopefully we'll see some inventory. Builder stocks, kind of a funny story there. The national builders, people like D.R. Horton, getting a little boost in their stock prices early. People speculating early that this could be a comeback for the builder out there this year. So a lot of good news in housing as we move forward and as we enter into the 2024 year. It's good to hear it's nice to hear some good things as we move in versus, what did we talk about last year? Well, rates sucked.
It's a tough time of year for real estate, too.
Yeah, well, up here it is.
When I was a realtor, it was always dead from mid-December. Depends on the market, too, but from mid-December till February, I always had a hard time.
Yeah, I mean, people are gearing into the new year, and it's back to work and back to school and back to all the other things. But what we'll hopefully see is a nice pickup in the spring, interest rates moderating, and we'll see a nice, easy flow into a year of recovery in the housing market. Maybe some more choices and inventory for people out there to pick from. And we'll hopefully see more opportunities for buyers out there and more affordability. That's the big thing, is helping people be able to afford more house. And even from the peak of interest rates at 8% to where they're at now, on the average home price, you might see that payment down $400 or $500 a month. So if you were discouraged last summer, this is a great time to potentially buy with the national average interest rate coming in at 6.7 now versus almost 8.25 in August. And so rates are down sharply since the beginning of the fall. And I think there's some opportunities here for people to get involved in the market, reassess. If you thought you couldn't because you went and you got pre-approved, or you went and you checked out what things would cost you back in August, your number one priority this year, right now, then, is to go see what you can do now with rates being, 1.5 lower. There definitely is more affordability for you. And what you thought was not possible just 4 months ago might be very possible as you move into 2024. And, So I encourage anybody, hey, and how do you get a hold of me? 400-3926. Your mortgage planner, pretty easy. Just dial that number, text that number. I'll set up an appointment and have you in the office same week where you can look at those numbers for yourself and see if it's now possible for you to own a home. So, yeah, Randy, just what a great way to enter 2024. More inventory and lower payments.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think the market's down slightly also. And that might be time. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that. Just subjectively, it feels like prices are a bit down. So that's a buying opportunity.
Winter is always, people, I'm going to wait till spring. I've bought almost every house in the fall or winter. And a lot of it's because you do have that house that if it doesn't make the cut, or if you have somebody who has to sell in the winter, you have less competition. Because everybody's going, I'm going to wait till spring. Spring.
Yeah, exactly.
You have less competition. And so a lot of times you can get a deal that's better than you deserve in the winter.
I mean, I'd be looking more at price than interest rate right now.
Yep. It's absolutely true. $10,000 right now roughly translates to about $70 a month in payment. And you have to move an interest rate quite a bit before it translates to $70 a month.
And I've seen some listings roll back that far or more in the last few months.
Well, Verity was doing they wanted to just clear out some inventory for the end of the year, and they put some houses down at almost break even with no margin for the first 10 houses sold, and we wrote a bunch of contracts here before the end of the year, and I think there's still a couple of those houses available, like on Cornice Loop.
Yes.
So where you literally, the snow removal and lawn care is included. You don't have to shovel a walk or mow a lawn the rest of your life.
They have an HOA?
Like $125 a month.
Oh,
yeah. My water bill alone is like $300 a month in the summer.
Really?
Let alone like $125 and you shovel it, mow it for me. I mean, that's awesome. So.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, we'll come back to the break. We'll get into the numbers. We'll talk about the economy. We got some jobs reports that came out. What should we expect interest rates to do for the year? And where is your opportunity to own a home in 2024? Back on Talk of the Town without Steve Bakken today.
Talk of the Town, brought to you by Big Boy. Just get in line. It moves fast. Benchmark Mortgage. Call Joe Sheehan, your mortgage planner, at 701-400-3926. Dakota Pharmacy and Dakota Natural Health Center. We're here to help you stay well. Trademark Realty, Peak Automotive and Service, and Silver Ranch.
Super Talk.
Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston are springing up cash. Just sell us your gently used warm weather styles like tees, shorts, sandals, and more. We're paying cash on the spot for gently used spring styles for guys and girls. Support sustainable fashion. This spring, do your thing and recycle the spring-inspired clothes, shoes, and accessories that are just hanging in your closet for cash on the spot. Let your spring clothes bloom into cash at Plato's Closet. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
And back on Talk of the Town here, Joe Sheehan and Steve Bakken on hiatus. Some secret location. Doing top secret
Down
stuff.
in the bunker.
On the run.
On the run.
On the run.
Witness protection.
That's exactly right. Okay, so let's go around the world. Mortgage market guide around the world. What's going on with the economy, and what you're going to hear me talk about. The good news is rates stabilizing in the sixes as we move into 2024. Bad news is still inconsistent economic data out there, which is why when you hear these talking heads talk about, oh well, interest rates are going to be in the fours, and don't believe it. We don't know. What we know is we know about as far as we can see down the road in our headlights. And what you got to do is look at the opportunity for yourself when the opportunity presents itself. Too many people have been, bamboozled and taken and missed opportunities because they've been waiting for what's coming down the road. And I'll never forget when, like a lot of my clients are calling me right now. Hey, could we refinance? Okay, well, your rate's at 5% because you listened to me and you bought right away in 2023 before rates went up. So no, you can't because rates aren't that low again yet. So they've already taken advantage. They already did well. And anybody that waited wound up with rates that were higher than 6. So here's what's going on. So there is some good news in the economies around the world, which putting a little pressure for rates to stay the same or go up. The Eurozone December PMI was better than expected, while China's growth is rising relative to extremely low pandemic base. Here in the States, ADP private payrolls came in at 164 versus 115 expected, while jobless claims fell to 3-month low. So here we go. What's one of the things that people have been counting on to create a recession? What? China and slow growth in China. But here we go. We see that on the rise. China is finding a way for its economy to grow and expand. And meanwhile, inflation in the Eurozone, not as bad as expected. While again, even though we had negative news about jobs last month, here we go entering into the year with positive news where once again, the job market seems resilient. And of course, one of the key factors the Fed has on controlling inflation is the control and growth of jobs. But here we see jobless claims falling and we see payrolls expanding, all inflationary and all giving you reasons. So when people say, oh, the Fed's going to cut rates 7 times in 2024, well, not with jobs growing like that, probably not. And so here's more inconsistent news that doesn't support lower rates or cutting by the Fed in the future. Piling on, U.S.-based employers announced 34,817 cuts in December, down 24%. So you think job cuts are, well, that's bad. Well, no, they were expecting them to cut more jobs, and they're expecting them to cut 45,000, but turns out they only cut 34,000. And it's the second lowest monthly total in 2023. So that's the least amount of contraction in jobs that we've seen. After 23,697 jobs cuts were announced in July. So it's so really right now, the job market, again, the job market continues to surprise the economy. And then let's talk about U.S. debt. Ooh, this is always a fun.
It's up there.
Yep. It's so here's what so actual Treasury borrowing in Q3 was $1.01 trillion, the second highest borrowing total for a single quarter in U.S. history. Think about that. You can't imagine that number. 1 point.
They just keep printing more money.
So in quarter four, the Treasury borrowed $776 billion. So less borrowing in quarter four than in quarter three. In quarter three, we began so we had 3.8% 10-year yield on the yield on the 10-year Treasury, and in quarter three, the 10-year yield hit 5%. Remember, the 10-year. I mean, then we were seeing rates move towards 8%. The 10-year was going up, and so now we've seen it. We closed kind of out the year with the 10-year at 3.7. But already you can see the 10-year back up to about 3.9 today. And so other factors involved, but debt plays a major role in the bond market movement. In quarter one, the 2024, the Treasury expects to borrow about $816 billion. So more money than it borrowed last quarter, but not as much money as it borrowed in quarter three. But still, it's almost $1 trillion.
Well, this has become the new normal now, this huge national debt. And I don't see that they're ever going to dig out of it.
Yeah, it's
just people expect it now. It's the new normal.
Yeah,
to use a cliche.
But what I can tell you, folks, is that aggressive borrowing by the government, the more the U.S. government's debt to income spread starts to grow on the debt side, the harder it is for interest rates to return to lower. So growing debt versus our income creates a wall or a floor of resistance for interest rates to go lower. And so when you hear people talking about, well, yeah, but in 2024 rates are going to be at 4%. Okay, we hit a recession. We hit a recession that causes the government to get back into bond buying, something like that again. And can you see rates go back into 4%? Yeah, it's all possible, right, folks? But what I'm telling you is the technical things to support interest rates going a lot lower than the fives are changing. And that is we are doing first time debt numbers that we've never done before. And the more that increases that debt to our overall gross income, the harder it is for interest rates to go down.
Yeah, I wouldn't be waiting for them to go down either.
No. And
I'd be worried that they're going to go up, so now's the time to lock in.
So, end of the take here by Mortgage Market Guide. Where are rates headed? Lower long term, but short term the trend is higher. And more than likely, and I think they're right, you're going to see some profit taking and repositioning by investors in the bond market at the beginning of 2024. So we may very well see rates go back up over 7 in the first quarter and a half, before we start seeing them go back down. And are we going to see a whole bunch of rate cuts by the Fed? Remains to be seen. Not if you get news like China's expanding and inflation's in control in the Eurozone and employment numbers are up again and the unemployment rate is down and jobless claims are lower and wage inflation is up. Any of those kind of things are all going to be things that say, the Fed is higher for longer. And I've got something about listening to the Fed for our next segment that we're going to talk about, like how to listen to the Fed, because we have some numbers on the voting trends inside the Federal Reserve Board that we're going to talk about when we come back. And then, of course, before we get to the end of the show today, we're going to talk about where are your opportunities in the home buying market, what is it you should be looking for, and where are your opportunities to own a home, and should you be focusing on money down or should you be focusing on less money down? What is it that you should be doing as you plan to take advantage of building your wealth as a homeowner in 2024 here on Talk of the Town without Steve Bakken after the break.
Free news talk.
Play-Doh Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston are springing up cash. Just sell us your gently used warm weather styles like tees, shorts, sandals, and more. We're paying cash on the spot for gently used spring styles for guys and girls. Support sustainable fashion. This spring, do your thing and recycle the spring-inspired clothes, shoes, and accessories that are just hanging in your closet for cash on the spot. Let your spring clothes bloom into cash at Plato's Closet. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
For Bismarck Mandan, Super Talk 1270. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
And welcome back to Talk of the Town. Joe Sheehan, your mortgage planner, 701-400-3926. If you need help buying a home, definitely 2024 is the year, I think, to do it. Let's talk a little bit about if you're an interest rate junkie, if you like to find out, if you want to kind of know what the Fed's going to do, definitely listen to Powell. Here's an article from one of our favorites, Elliot Eisenberg, housing economist, and he did a little breakdown on the voting trend inside the Fed, the FOMC. Of all the FOMC votes cast during Paul Volcker's tenure as chair of the Fed, and that's the guy that Volcker was the guy before Greenspan. He was the Jimmy Carter, Reagan Fed, he's the one who you all love to hate, who brought prime Fed interest rate to like 18%, mortgage rates to 21%. Whenever you talk about people, my mortgage rate was at 16%. Well, Paul Volcker was the man of the hour.
Yeah, I remember those days. Good times.
Well, and honestly, Paul Volcker was doing the necessary evil. They were battling stagflation. I mean, the very, very worst of the economy had come to play, and Paul Volcker was the champion of the day, who then set Greenspan up to look like a genius when Greenspan was really asleep at the wheel. It turned out, and Greenspan got the moniker of Maestro. I don't know if you remember that, the Maestro, as he seemed to just dance with the economy perfectly, but just turned out he was just singing a lullaby the whole time as we rolled into the big crash.
That was like early 80s?
Yeah. Well, 90s.
Oh, 90s, really?
90s. Greenspan was 90s.
I remember that back in the 80s, I mean, my first house was like 13%.
Yeah, that was Volcker.
13 to 15%.
But during Paul Volcker's tenure as chair of the Fed, 10.7% of the committee dissented, did not agree. During the Greenspan years, the dissenting vote percentage fell to 4.8%. During Bernanke's time as head, dissenting votes were 7%. And that was really interesting because Bernanke was playing a big experiment with the economy at that time. He was really engaging the Keynesian philosophy of, like, can we ease the pain gently? And of course, the 7%, I think, were probably like Dallas's Fed Bullard at the time, who, like, hey, no, we need to feel the pain faster and get through it faster. And there was a real dance between the Keynesian and the Austrian philosophies of how to run an economy during that time. And during Yellen's era, dissents remained essentially unchanged at 7.1%. And really, Yellen was just a continuation of the Bernanke era. However, since Powell began, dissents have been a minuscule 2.6% of votes cast. So listen to Powell, ignore all others. So it doesn't matter what the various fair cheds say from New York. Who are the ones that are quoted all the time? New York, the New York chair, he gets the New York president, he gets a lot of press. Mm-hmm. Dallas,
yep,
the Dallas one gets a lot. Atlanta speaks up once in a while. You never really hear from like Minneapolis or
no, that's true.
Or the California. You'd think is that would that Fed be out of Sacramento? No, But you don't really hear from this. It's like the most vocal ones are New York, Dallas, Atlanta, and they speak their piece. But it doesn't matter. You want to know what's going to happen? Just listen to Powell, because he's managing a Fed committee that seems to be pretty single-minded in this era. And so, last thing that from Elliot Eisenberg, 2024 likely won't be a year of great economic growth because fiscal policy will be increasingly contractionary. Savings rates will necessarily stop falling, and bank lending and thus the money supply will continue contracting. Additionally, the interest rate sensitivity exhibited so far by households and businesses in the face of higher interest rates works in both directions. Therefore, the expected rate cuts may not be as stimulative as hoped. So don't expect a lot of great things out of 2024, according to Mr. Eisenberg. But what I think you can expect if you're in the market for buying a house is I think that you can expect some great opportunities for yourself in this market. Like I said, affordability improving, even upwards of $500 a month on the average payment. When you look at the interest rate improvement we had from the peak in August, and how do you use that to your advantage? Well, I think because of what Elliot's saying here is that there hasn't been a complete shift yet in the mind of the consumer or the buyer, which means that as inventory comes available in our market, if you're of an aggressive buy mindset, you don't have any competition. You don't have the competition you're going to have. Interest rates drop, folks, another point and a half. You're going to have a lot of competition. And it just wasn't that long ago that, if you remember, there were folks paying $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 more than the house was listed for when rates were perceived to be at all-time low. Ago. No. And so if we're already in an inventory shortage and people are buying houses right now in an inventory shortage, that's why the inventory is short, what's going to happen if you see that interest rate tick a point or point and a half? I'm going to tell you what.
If it goes down, you mean?
Yeah, if it goes down.
Yeah, there'll be a buying frenzy.
You would rather be someone who already owns the house you want and you're refinancing it,
right,
than be somebody who's now trying to buy the house you want and you're competing for it.
Yeah, that's right.
You're literally going to cost yourself more in the increased offer you're going to have to make, or the decreased negotiating room you have in a more aggressive market, and then you're going to spend more in that situation than you're going to save on that interest rate. I promise you.
All good points.
And so I think 2024 is definitely, this is kind of maybe a sleeper's market. We're going to move things steadily. There's going to be opportunity, and those people who are prepared to be aggressive when the right homes come up are going to be able to take advantage quickly and win. And you're going to beat the punch to when the market picks up, gets aggressive, gets competitive, and now the next thing you know, you're trying to outbid somebody. Now, I'm not. The sky's not falling. I'm not saying you're going to pay. Oh, I'm going to have to bid up a house $50,000 to get it at the end of 2024 or in 2025. But what I do think is you could get a seller to pay closing costs, like on a $300,000 house. Seller pays $9,000 towards your closing costs. You could get that built into a deal today. 2025, you might have to pay full price and not get that.
Yeah, you can't do that when the market's hot.
So you think about
when it's a seller's market.
So you think about that. How much do you have to save in interest to get back $10,000 over 4 years? So you take $10,000 divided by 48 months. About $250 a month. You're gonna have to drop. You're gonna have to have an interest rate that's over a point lower on the average loan to get that money back in 4 years. So, I think that 2024. So how do you do this? How do you take advantage of it? Number one, I'm going to go total anti Dave Ramsey here. I know that means you go to hell. I think you go to hell, don't you? If you disagree with Dave Ramsey.
I think you get fired from his company at the very least. If you don't,
So,
if you don't fit in,
I'm not going to get the birthday
with his
card.
principles.
He's not going to quit the station, though, or anything like that, is he?
You took out a car loan?
If one of your
you're
hosts,
fired.
If one of your hosts disagrees with Dave Ramsey, you guys don't lose the syndication program, do you?
Yeah, and I don't disagree with him as far as getting into debt and all that, but some of his rules are a little unrealistic for the average person.
So here's where I'm going to disagree with Dave Ramsey today. Don't wait to save money for a house. Don't wait.
Well, you got to pay cash for a house.
Yeah.
If you listen to Dave Ramsey, you're not taking out a mortgage. You're paying. You're saving up 20% down payment. That's what it really is.
Right. And don't do that. So don't do that. In 2024, don't do that. You literally can get into a house through the North Dakota Housing Finance Agency program with as little as $500.
Great program.
Now, where we're going to go back and we're going to go with Dave is don't borrow your future to do it, though. Let's make sure the payment fits. Let's make sure it's in your comfort zone. Let's make sure that you can get a payment. And right now, I was looking at average rents in Burleigh County, pulling just a few articles that have surveys for them, and it varies a little bit. But so average rent for a 2-bedroom house is rolling somewhere around $920. Okay. Now, I'm thinking that's probably like 2-bedroom house or 2-bedroom apartment, no garage. I think most people that are renting like 2 or 3-bedroom houses with garages are paying closer to $1,800, somewhere between $1,400 and $1,800.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that 900 sounds.
Yeah, that sounds low.
That sounds to me like you got an apartment. It's got 2 bedrooms and maybe a sink.
If you're paying that, don't move.
Yeah. But my experience is people are paying somewhere more between $1,200 to $1,800.
Yeah.
For various quality of some sort of living space that might have a garage, or a yard. So you can do a pretty decent house for $2,000 a month. So if that's somewhere in your ballpark, your comfort zone, and then think about that, you might be able to, like, if we really go through your budget, maybe we're eliminating storage sheds that you're currently paying for. Maybe that extra bedroom that you've got is a place where you could be saving money, where you might be doing something else. And so I think there's a lot of things. We look at your budget and we look at what the potential cost savings are in owning a home and the additional expenses in owning a home compared to your rent. Can we get inside a comfort zone that can put you in somewhere between an $1,800 to $2,500 payment? And if we can do that, we can get you into a house, and we can probably get you into a house with less than $500. And I know we're disagreeing with Dave here, so we apologize, Dave. Please forgive us sinners.
But he just wants that 20% down.
Why wouldn't you pay on a house
and a 15
versus
year,
rent?
And a 15-year, I'm sorry, and a 15-year fix,
15-year fix,
which is twice the payment or 1.5 times the payment, probably.
This is where I agree with George Bailey.
Yeah.
Why should I have to work my whole life before I can own a couple of decent rooms and a bath?
Yeah, well, I agree with you, Joe.
But I think if you can do that, if you can get somewhere in that $2,000, $1,800, $2,500 room payment, you can probably get into a house right now in 2024 with probably your tax refund.
Yeah, no doubt.
And why wouldn't you do that versus pay rent? And
I'm a big proponent of owning real estate, so that's a no-brainer for me.
In the long run, so like people go, I don't want to get in trouble. What if I lost my house? Okay.
Well,
let's talk about that real quick.
Like you said, be comfortable, live within your means, don't borrow your future.
Well, let's say something happens you don't control, right? Yeah. You lose your job, things go wrong, medical bills come up, and we have customers that we've worked through this stuff before with. Things happen that are bad, but so what? So you lose your house. You going to keep your apartment? No, they're not going to let you stay there rent-free either. I mean, either way, you're going to lose the place that you live in.
Yeah, this is true.
And why not take a chance on yourself and own something, right? And more than likely, I always have my customers come in and we're working on payments, and we can keep $5,000 in their checking account, or we could put it down and lower their payment a little bit, maybe lower their payment by $100 a month. And I'll say, listen, in my experience, the $5,000 in your checking account, that'll help you make 3 house payments if something goes wrong. I've never had anybody call me and go, Joe, if I just had another $100, I could save the house. No one's ever been $100 away from making the house payment.
Sure.
And so, like, there's a lot of ways I can help you build safety nets inside your own budget to help you protect that future investment too. So we'll come back to the last break. We'll talk more about renting. Maybe let Sydney pontificate a little bit about the problems that she sees in Minneapolis and being a young person renting there. As we close out last segment on Talk of the Town without Steve Bakken.
Talk of the Town, brought to you by Big Boy. Just get in line. It moves fast. Benchmark Mortgage. Call Joe Sheehan, your mortgage planner, at 701-400-3926. Dakota Pharmacy and Dakota Natural Health Center. We're here to help you stay well. Trademark Realty, Peak Automotive and Service, and Silver Ranch.
Super Talk.
Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston are springing up cash. Just sell us your gently used warm weather styles like tees, shorts, sandals, and more. We're paying cash on the spot for gently used spring styles for guys and girls. Support sustainable fashion. This spring, do your thing and recycle the spring-inspired clothes, shoes, and accessories that are just hanging in your closet for cash on the spot. Let your spring clothes bloom into cash at Plato's Closet. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
And back on Talk of the Town with Steve Bach and Joe Sheehan, your mortgage planner, sitting in. We've talked about why 2024 is your year. But we're also going to talk about my daughter, Sydney Sheehan, in from Minneapolis. And so she's going to give us a little color on renting and renting in Minneapolis. So, Sydney, the rent's too damn high.
Don't do it. If you can avoid it, please.
So you have like you're in Bloomington, you have a 1-bedroom apartment, you're paying about what, $900 a month for that right now?
$900 would be a dream. I pay $1,100.
$1,100, okay.
Over
for 1 bedroom, but nice neighborhood, and apartment's all yours. It's
in a nice area.
Yeah. But now you're moving in with your bohemian friends. Y'all gonna sock out together in some sort of communal facility.
Having nightly bonfires and poetry readings if anyone wants to come.
Yeah. So now to explain that rent picture, like how's that working out? Where you're sharing rent, and this is gonna be closer to Dinkytown, right?
Well, it's in the outskirts of Como, so. We're looking
not St. Paul, not the Como Park area, right?
Como and Minneapolis, like the outskirts of that, close to the University of Minnesota. But what's 700 times 6? Because there's 6 of us.
So it's $4,200 for the rent of the entire commune, and then but you're each paying $700. So you're gonna reduce your rent by about $400 a month, living with the Bohemian Rhapsody group. But how much? What are you getting for the $700 now?
Well, I mean, the area is less nice. It's less safe, but compared on a price point average, it's worth it.
You're getting your own room.
Getting our own room.
But now shared kitchen, shared living spaces, shared
everything, which won't be too bad as long as everyone plays nice.
For a $400 reduction, and so $4,200 for how many bedrooms in this house?
There's 6 bedrooms.
$4,200, 6 bedrooms. So square footage has to be close to what, 2,500 square feet, or
probably something like that. Yeah.
I don't know. That doesn't sound that much more expensive than Bismarck, does it? Really, Randy, when you think about it? I mean,
no, it sounds quite reasonable, actually.
I mean, is the Como neighborhood, you're not talking about being in Brooklyn, you're not talking about being in St. Louis Park?
No, nothing like that. Yeah. I mean,
Golden Valley.
The average rent in Minneapolis for a 2-bedroom is near $2,000. So if you had a roommate, you're still getting $1,000 each month between the two of you, not including utilities.
Yeah,
which is a lot.
So about $1,000 per person. But now, is that Minneapolis? Because renting in Minneapolis is different than the suburbs, right?
Well, Minneapolis and surrounding areas in general are about the same.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see much of a change between renting in Richfield and renting downtown. I mean, you might see a change renting downtown because the apartments are nicer and they're high rise, but other
Maybe
than
there's
that,
maybe there's security. But downtown Minneapolis has, since the George Floyd problem they've had struggles with.
Downtown Minneapolis has been dead.
Yeah,
it's absolutely dead down there. There's no one.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they'll figure that out. But there we go. There's a little cameo into the renting foibles and troubles and tribulations of a college student in Minneapolis for you. And thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Talk of the Town without Steve Bach and Joe Sheehan here signing off. Your mortgage planner, 701-400-3926 if you need me.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. Talk of the Town, weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
AM, Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union studio.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.